Hello everyone, welcome back. I got in my replacement primary arms GLX 1 to 10 by 24 scope. This is the first focal plane version. So it took them about 7 days to get me a replacement. The issue that I had with the first one was a parallax issue. Okay, I briefly spoke about it with somebody in technical support. Apparently, what was happening is that the scope was parallaxed for a very close range. So, like when I was like looking at something that was about 10 yards away, I mean the focus was like perfect. Okay, but then and it was good all the way out to about 100 yards. But when I got to 200 yards, the focus was impossible to work with. Okay. If I focused the reticle, the target was completely out of focus. If I focused the target, the reticle was completely out of focus. The best that I could do was kind of find a middle point where they were both just a little bit out of focus. But then if I went with different magnification, right? So if I went from like 10 magnification or 8 magnification down to, let's say, like 3 magnification, the focus was completely wrong. Okay, so that was a parallax problem. Okay, the scope was not parallax right now. Usually LPVOs are parallax for, I think, like 200 yards. And what that usually means that if you're looking at something that's about 10 yards away, you can see it, but it's going to be like ever so slightly out of focus when you're in close. But and you have to focus like on a very fine point, okay, on a very fine point, like the lettering. Like you got to look at the lettering. If you're just looking at a room, like in a CQB type of situation, it's going to look fine. But if you try to focus, let's say, on the lettering, like I got on the box over there, that should be like slightly out of focus. Okay, so let's open this up. So this is going to be the second unboxing. I really wanted to do this outdoors, but it's late in the day, and I was really excited. I wanted to open this up and look at it and give you guys my first-time impressions. Okay, so they give you the manuals. I'm very familiar with the manuals already. They give you the scope bag like this. They give you a second. First, let's get the scope out of this bag. Okay, so they give you the scope, and in the prior videos, I weighed this with the mount, and I'm using the aerial precision mount. It comes in, I think, somewhere around a pound and a half. It is long. Okay. Initially, this is what is it, a 30 millimeter tube. I would have preferred a 34 millimeter tube, right, for a more generous eye box. But after having worked with this, my thought is that if they had used a 34 millimeter tube, it would have added a lot of weight, okay? Because it's not just the weight of the aluminum, but also the weight of the lenses. The lenses in here actually add a significant amount of weight. And then if you go to a larger tube, you now have larger lenses. So I think kind of the obvious reason why they went with 34 with a 30 millimeter tube instead of 34 is to try and save on the weight. And even with this scope, using the aerial precision light mount, which I think was like 3.5 ounces, I had to be selective with the AR that I put it on, okay? Because I wanted to put it on my 18-inch AR, and I had two of them. One of them had a heavier rail. It had Picatinny all the way across the top, and then when I mounted this scope on it, the rifle just felt a little bit sluggish. It just like pushed it over the edge of what I thought was acceptable weight. So I put it on. That was my Ruger MPR that has a Picatinny rail all the way across the top. When I put it on my Palmetto 223 Wild, that has a hybrid rail. Okay, so that I just realized that it's probably causing a shadow. That has a hybrid rail, and what I found is that having that just slightly lighter rail made the difference. Okay, so this is at a size and weight that I think that you kind of have to be selective with what type of, with which AR you want to put it on. 18-inch versus 18-inch versus 16-inch. If you use a 16-inch, I think that would be short enough that even if you have Picatinny going all the way across the top, it'll be manageable. But if you use an 18-inch and you got Picatinny going all the way across the top, you may not like the way that this moves. Okay, you may not like the balance. So that's the first thing. You gotta be you aware of the weight. So even with 30 millimeters, this this 10x is long, and you have to use a light mount, the Area Precision. I did play around with a couple of different mounts. I was using one from Primary Arms that was like 7 ounces, and I mean it made a difference. So definitely get the lighter mount. Okay, so first let's talk about these covers that they have on it. So again, this is the second time that I'm working with this, and these covers are really tight, and that's it takes a little effort to get them off, and that's like usually not common for Primary Arms covers. They're usually not that tight. Usually I take them off completely. With this one, they're so tight that you actually may just want to keep them on. The only thing to be aware of is that if these things catch on anything like branches or something, like these do break easy. Okay, I think I would have much preferred the bikini covers like they have on my PLX scope, right? The 1:8 by 24 PLX. I like the bikini cover for that. I wish that's what they had included with this. Now, on the back, it's also tight. Okay, so here's the issue. You kind of have to decide if you want to keep the rear cover on or off, because this is so tight that once you set the diopter, okay, once you set the diopter, if you try to remove this, it's gonna change the position of your diopter. And one of the things that I noticed with the first scope that I got in, compared to, let's say, my PLX scope and some other Primary Arm scopes, this is on the looser side, okay? I mean, and not that it's loose, but it's just not as firm and tight. I think on my PLX, it takes a little bit more effort to turn it. This one turns fairly easy, which, it doesn't turn that easy that it's just going to, like, come out of focus on its own, okay? But it's light enough, right? It's that if you try to take the cover off, it's going to change the focus, okay? So first thing I want to do is I want to look through this and check the focus. Give me a second. Back. All right, so let's take a look at this and see if they fixed the parallax issue. Okay, so first, and I did do this with the first one, but I think that the first day I was looking at it, I was only looking at it out to 100 yards, and for a week, that's all I was working with, about 100 yards. It's not until I went to 200 yards that I saw that there was an issue. So let's go up to 10 power. So right now I'm looking at about 100 yards. We'll start off there. It is cloudy today, and I am looking through it. It's cloudy, rainy, and I'm looking through a window. So I'm trying to find the focus. I'm trying to get this to focus. So I'm looking at something that's featureless. All right. And I'm just trying to get the reticle in focus. Okay, so it looks like I got the reticle in focus. Just go a little bit past it to see if it comes out of focus. Yeah. So this is like obviously the best way to focus this is on a rifle with the rifle steady. I mean, right now the way I'm doing this on my elbows is not the best way to do it, but I really want to see So right now I'm kind of focusing on the doorknob at about 100 yards. Yeah, so there's a combination of me being a little bit shaky and looking through a glass. But let me go to 200 yards, see if I can see what this looks like. Yeah, so despite this being a little bit shaky because of the way I'm holding it, at 200 yards, I seem to have a good focus. Both the reticle and what I'm looking at are reasonably focused, despite that I'm looking through the window and this is shaking a little bit in my hands. So initial impressions is that the parallax is correct. Okay, that's my initial impressions. So I think that was just a one-off where they just sent me out a scope that was poorly parallax. So once you get this diopter focused, I mean, like if you're taking the caps on and off, you're going to be constantly you're going to change the focus. So you kind of have to decide if you want to keep the cap on or off. What I think I might do is keep, because I store my rifles pointed up, I might keep the top. I think I'm going to keep the top one on and remove. Yeah, see, these things are really tight. Remove the rear one. So now we do it like that. So yeah, I'll probably keep the front one on and remove the rear one because that's probably what I'm going to do. But we'll see. I mean, I gotta get on the rifle to. All right. So as far as like again, quick. This is the second time initial impressions. As far as the magnifier setting, I mean it's firm. It's definitely not the tightest I think I've seen. I think usually they're a little bit tighter. I mean, I think most people are going to really like this. They're going to find this to be very comfortable to switch. This lever I think is the perfect height that primary arms have. The first LPVOs that they came out with, they were too short. And then I've had an aftermarket one that I put on that was a little bit too long. So I think they've figured out the perfect height of the throw lever, where it's not too big and not too small. So the other thing I'm doing now is I'm zooming back and forth through different magnifications, and the focus, like it seems to stay in focus, because that was an issue I had with the first one. The first one that they sent out to me, when I would, once I set the diopter, when I would zoom in and out at 200 yards, or even inside of 200 yards, it was the focus was just changing on me. So this is working the way it's supposed to be working. As I'm going up and down on the magnification, the focus is changing. Okay, so that looks good. Now let's check the illumination. So this has 9 daylight settings, and then it's got 2 night vision settings. I don't have night vision equipment, so I won't be able to really test out that. Let's go to the brightest setting, number 9. Yeah, so the nice thing about this is both the inner horseshoe and the outer horseshoe light up. Okay, so for a cloudy day like today, I mean, this is like really good. On the bright day, what I found is, like, if it's sunny outside, I mean, it's not going to be bright enough. You're just better off using the etch reticle on a bright sunny day. The way I've come to use these, and I generally advise people to use it, is if you're going to be using the illumination, you keep that like in a brightness setting of 2, which you're not even going to be able to see in daylight. But if you go indoors, like into a basement or something, you'll be able to see it. So this way you're conserving the battery when you're outdoors, when you really don't need it, where the etch reticle is enough. But if you go indoors where you do need it, it's on. Okay, so this does have the shake awake. So after 3 minutes, the power, if you put this in the safe, the power is going to power off. And when you pick it up, it'll power back on. I did test that with the other one that I sent out. At some point I'll test it with this one too, but that was working on the other one. That's a nice feature of this GLX, that it has. They call it auto live, where it's basically, you know, auto off, shake awake. Okay, I like that feature. Oh, before I forget, one of the things that you got to be aware of is, like, as you look at this scope here, right, you see how much longer it is in the back and short in the front over here. Okay, so you really need, because this bit, you need one of those mounts that pushes this thing forward so that you have enough space back here. Otherwise, because this thing has like 4.5 or 5 inches of eye relief. And the way you test it, you take a light out, and you just take the light. I don't know if you guys will be able to see. You take the light, you shine it through the front, then you put your hand here and you see where it focuses. So right now, right there, that's the focus. Okay, that's the eye relief that you have. Okay, so so here's the thing. What I found is, like, I had to push the mount all the way to the front. And I even had to extend the stock a little bit more than I normally would like. So that's kind of like, because a lot of times people, because the older LPVOs, older scopes, like ACOGs particularly, they you know, older scopes, prism scopes, they had very bad eye relief. Like, your eye basically needed to be right up against the glass. And now I think they've gone like to the opposite extreme, where you have like almost too much eye relief, where you got to be so far back from it that it forces you to push the scope forward, okay, which requires a cantilever, you know, one of these mounts that allows the scope to go all the way forward without going onto the rail, right? Because you want this to be on the upper receiver, you don't want it on the rail. So you need a mount that pushes this forward, and that's usually I end up having to extend the stock one more notch than normally I would want. So now you've got a slightly longer rifle that's a little bit more front heavy, because everything's pushed so much forward. So that's why I actually would, you know, it's got a lot of eye relief. I would prefer less eye relief, but I think it's, I mean, I don't think that's something they pick. It's just they engineer the scope and the lenses and the optics, and then wherever the eye relief lands, the eye relief lands. But that's one of the things that I want you guys to be aware of. You definitely need a mount that pushes this. You want a light mount that pushes this as far forward as possible. And what's going to happen is you're still going to probably have to extend the scope by one more position. Not the scope. Extend the stock by one more position than you're normally used to or comfortable, in order to accommodate that eye relief. Okay. So let's talk about the turrets. Let's take you off. So that's the top one. That's the side one. These things are tight. All right, so let's. So yeah, it feels nice. I mean, you can hear it. It's audible and it's tactile. So that's nice on the windage. Yeah, so that's fine, and that's basically as expected. Tactile and audible, looks good. These are removable. They give you an extra. So this is a capped turret on the elevation. If you want, you can put an exposed one on it. They give you an exposed one to put on here. So I don't use the exposed ones. I just use the cap. And the reason why it almost doesn't make sense to use the exposed turret is because it doesn't have a zero stop. So if you start spinning the dials, at some point you're gonna get confused. If you start trying to dial up, you're gonna come up too high or too low, and you're gonna end up not going back to your true zero. You're gonna end up being in the wrong position. So since this doesn't have a zero stop adjustment to make sure that you get back to your zero, it's not a good idea to dial turns. The best thing to do is actually use the reticle for your holdovers. Okay, that's the best thing to do with this. Now they do have no, once you zero this in, you can. It's a resettable turret, so you can change the zero, right? So if you did want to, because what I'll usually do is like if I use a 22 conversion bolt, I'll dial up like 2.5 mils, and I know that gives me now a zero with 22 long rifle. So then I can just dial back down to my zero for my 5.56. So that's a convenient way that I use the resettable zero turret. Okay, so it is good that it is resettable, but don't expect to be using this like you would be using a turret that had a zero stop, where this is an LPVO. You're going to be mostly using the reticle for your holdovers. Okay. Let's see. Now let's put these back on because let's see, does it catch with the last one I had? Yeah, this one goes in one. With the one I had before, I had to really like dig it in there in order for the threadings to catch. Yeah, so there was definitely some issue with the last one I got in with the threadings on the caps. Okay, where the threads of the caps, they weren't like gripping it right away. I don't know if it was because the rubber seal in there was too thick, but I don't see a difference. It looks about the same. Or maybe the threads in the cap were too short. But with this one, as soon as I put it on, it catches right away. It goes in. Where's the other one? The other one's already on there. So I like that. That's one less headache to deal with. So that's it on my initial or my second initial impressions, right? Second out of the box impressions, having gotten this back after it was exchanged, and I'm glad they exchanged it and not try to fix it, because it was basically I bought a brand new scope. I didn't want to get back a brand new, and I could tell that this is brand new because I could tell as soon as I opened it up, I could see that. For example, the cloth in here, the cleaning cloth, to give you a nice big cleaning cloth. This is nicely folded. The one I sent back was like crumbled up, and I just shoved it in there. So this is nicely folded. It's a nice big cleaning cloth. So that's really nice if they give you GLX. Yeah. Oh, there it is. I was looking. I thought it said primary arms somewhere. Yeah, it says primary arms there. I'm not really good at folding stuff up. See if I can get you. So yeah, that's how I know for sure that this was this was an exchange. They didn't try to fix it. So let's see. They give you 2 keys. Here we go from the bottom. They give you 2 keys. One, this is for your Allen screws. Oh, let's get you over here. So when you go to reset your zero, or for both your elevation and your windage, they give you an Allen key here so that you can pick this up and rotate this to match up the zeros. I haven't quite. They give you a larger Allen key. Oh, I know what it is. The larger Allen key goes into this. In case you want to remove the throw lever. I don't know why you would want to do that, but if you wanted to remove the throw lever, they give you an Allen key for that. That's nice. I mean, I have no intention of removing the throw lever, but I'm glad they give you the Allen key for the turns, because that I do intend to reset once I zero it in. And also, I found out from one of my viewers that because what I have found is that the Allen screws over here, they do loosen up. Like if you just like screw them in, they will loosen up after you've been shooting this for a while. A short while, not to the point where it comes loose, but to the point that the next time I go in there to move it, I see that like at least 1 or 2 of them came loose, and it's a little bit looser than I wanted to. So I tried using the regular Loctite that I use, and the regular Loctite is a little too strong for these screws, because I was to break it. Like I almost, and it wasn't on this scope, it was on a different scope I had. I almost bent the Allen key. It didn't bend, but I almost bent it. I said, that's not a good idea. I shouldn't use the regular Loctite. So somebody recommended I use Loctite 222. Okay, that's a low strength Loctite for these Allen screws over here to keep them in place. Okay, so that's Loctite 222. Different brands out there, they might have different numbers on, but it's a low. You want a low strength Loctite for the Allen screws on the turns. You're gonna need to Loctite those screws because they will loosen up over time. I mean, just from the vibration, they're gonna loosen up. I mean, that's one of the one of the things, probably the only thing I really am not too crazy about on these primary arm scopes is the way the Allen screw system for both for the resettable zero and also for the zero stop on other scopes that have the resettable zero. I just the Allen screw system, I don't love it. I don't know if there's a better system out there. I mean, there are other systems. I don't know if they're actually better because I haven't used them. They might end up making the scope a lot more expensive, but that's one of the things that I've never loved the Allen screw system that they used for the for the turns. I mean, it works, especially if you use the low power Loctite. You know, it's just like down the road, if they were to improve upon something, that's the thing I think they should try and improve on. Okay, and real quick, I mentioned this in the prior videos I did on this. I absolutely love the reticle on this. It is I think they call it the M10. It uses a combination of both outer posts, right? The German 4 posts or duplex posts. So it uses the combination of the outer posts, and it uses a large inner circle. Okay, so there's two circles. If you go up to 10 power, there's a horseshoe, but then if you come out to one power, you see an outer circle that appears to be like what would be like a 65 MOA circle. So the combination of the horseshoe, 65 MOA, and I'm guessing, I don't know if it's exactly 65, but the combination of what appears to be a 65 MOA horseshoe and the outer post, the combination of those two is like perfection for a reticle. Okay, this is the best reticle I have seen. It's a hybrid. It's got now this is the mill grid version. So you got a mill grid, so you can do your milling. You can do your range estimating using that. You can mill other things besides just a human, right? Because they also have the acss system in here where you can auto range off the size of a man. So it's a hybrid reticle that uses both mills and fast combat. They call it the advanced combat sighting system. So I like this hybrid system. I think you need both. I think you need fast auto ranging, fast bullet drop, which the mill grid provides, but you also need like just mill lines so that you can do other things that you would traditionally do with a mill scope. So I really love this M10 reticle, okay? And that's the reason why I bought this scope. I didn't buy it for any other reason, because I had the PLX. It went up to 8 power. I like the 10 power better versus 8 power, right? Even though it's a little bit heavier. But the reason why I went and bought this is because of the updated reticle. This M10 that has the combination of the horseshoe and the post. And I was doing like a side-by-side with my PLX with the M8 reticle, and this one here with the M10. And this one is like way superior in CQB for like, being able to get like on target fast. Okay, now don't be fooled. You're still gonna have eye box issues, especially with the 30mm tube if you're not like perfectly on the gun, if you're shooting unconventional positions. I mean, this is never going to replace a red dot. Okay, never. Okay, so the way you would use this is primarily a distance scope. Okay, for intending to do things at a distance, but then it has a decent CQB capability because it goes down to a 1 power, and it in 1 power you have an extra reticle that's actually useful and guides you to the center. It works. It's really well designed. Okay, so but yeah, this is, if you're gonna have a rifle with a scope like this on it, you're mostly intending to be shooting at distance. Okay. This is never going to be as good as a red dot in CQB range, okay? But it has that capability to allow you to kind of like hang in there and stay in the fight and have a chance. Okay? I do not like having like a scope and then having like a piggyback red dot. I like it, it's just extra weight, extra junk on the gun, extra snag, bigger chance of things snagging. So that's the reason why I like an LPVO that goes down to 1 power, because I don't need to put a red dot on top of it. Now I understand for competition, yeah, it's faster to rotate the rifle to the side, but I'm not buying this for competition. I'm buying this for to have a combat gun build, primarily for shooting at distance. So this is like, I think, the best scope so far. I mean, I even like this better than the PLX. PLX I like because it's light, but I like this scope. It really goes to the reticle, that M10 reticle. So right now, this is my favorite scope. So look forward. Actually, before I even mount this on the gun, I'm gonna hook up the camera adapter, and I'm gonna try and take this out into the real world and look at real people and real things. I'll hook up the camera adapter, show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this second initial impressions. I'm glad that the issue with the scope was just a defect, or a defect with the parallax, rather than a problem with the scope design. Because if the scope was just designed to work that way, then yeah, it's like a non-starter. But there was just a defect. I mean, anything that's manufactured in large volume, there's going to be some percentage of things that go, that are just not going to, you're just going to have a certain percentage of error rate. So I'm glad I got, initial impressions, the parallax seems to be good on this, but I intend to do a lot more testing and shooting with this. So stay tuned. Hello everyone, I'm going to take a quick look at this scope in the realistic environment. So it's obviously it's off the rifle. I haven't mounted it yet. Do a zoom in. It's gonna be a little shaky, but that's fine. That kind of simulates a situation where we're moving around. Zoom back. Let's see, I got some people here. Okay. So let's see how things look here. So yeah, important to get out to a realistic area where you got real people moving around. Obviously with the scope not on the rifle. Get out there and see how things look. All right, let's start zooming up a little bit. All right, so we got there. We're at, let's go to 4 magnification. Start seeing some of the details. Okay. So let's get a little bit closer. So yeah, so obviously we can tell right there that this person is obviously way closer than 300 yards. Based on the size of the horseshoe, I would say they're about 150 yards. Let's go a little further out. All right, so there. So these people are sitting, so we're looking at them from waist up. Try and steady this. Yeah, so they're about 300, say about 400 yards, maybe 350. So you can see how it's really important to be able to like zoom back in order to see, find what you're looking for. Because if you're zoomed in, you're not going to be able to find stuff. And then you can zoom in as you need to. And then just sometimes you don't want to be at max magnification. So the nice thing about this is like the measurements on this scope, they work in like the range estimating and a bullet drop. They work in all magnifications. That's about 300 there.
So that would be my hold. Let's see, well, let's wait a little further back and zoom in on that. Okay, max magnification 10x, about 500 yards. So that would be my hold about there. So I think this is like my favorite scope, particularly because you got the outer post and you got that outer circle.